Welcome to Yuhao. Yuhao was a tutor in the sandbox, a graduate student. You graduated, I'm guessing, 2014?
19.
When?
14. No
2000,
way.
2019?
2 years ago. Yep.
2019. And it's good to have you back. So you're on first, and tell us your story.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you for inviting me. Again, this is my first time doing such a speech, and um, please bear with me if I get nervous and my tongue started to stutter. But yeah, my topic here today is I just want to tell you about my career and maybe give you a little bit more information about what's it like there when you graduate, especially if you decided to go into a non, um, should I say, programming path of IT career. Many people choose to become a sort of a IT management within an enterprise. Some go to consulting firm, which happens a lot, like because you have Big Four listing, Bentley as a target school, and of course, a lot of people go into programming career. It's fun, engaging, and it's well rewarded. But here, what I'm sharing with you is the career path of a IT audit, or you could call it IT risk advisory. Those two words are interchangeable with very minor difference. So first of all, let me just start by telling you what it is. So risk advisory and IT audits are basically like they're doing the same work. There's a minor difference in terms of your target audience. Maybe the purpose of the audit would be different, but essentially you're going to company, your client, and look at their IT environment in terms of a couple of different areas: security, availability, process integrity, confidentiality, and what was the fifth one? Jeez, didn't come to my head. Um, Whatever. So yeah, those are pretty important stuff. And so companies do pay money to hire professions like you, well, I should say me, to come to their company and look at their IT environment, their IT general controls, make sure everything is falling in places, and they have a strong control in place to make sure shit doesn't happen. Um, and that is essentially very brief way to sum up what IT risk advisory does. IT audit is a little bit different. You're basically doing the same thing, except what you're doing, the work you're doing is not for the client company itself, but for its um, the client to your client company, if that makes sense. So, like for example, if you decided to rent a server on Amazon Web Servers, AWS for short, um, and you as a company value security and confidentiality very dearly. You wanted to make sure that AWS is doing their job um, to keep everything under control. You would ask them for their IT audit report, SOC report. There's SSAU report, and there's some other types of reports. ISO 2007 2000 no 27001. There are three O's, two O's. I can't remember. Sorry. But you would look at the reports and look at the relevant controls to you to make sure, oh, AWS has a file work and it's working. Great. That's what I want to know. So that's basically your target audience. And for IT audit, there's a small branch that could be a little different. Is like every public company has to do their 10K every year. So um, a public consulting firm, public accounting firm will be hired to do their 10K to their financial audit. But it's 21st century. Everybody started using computer systems, and some of the companies are highly reliant on computer systems. So many of their oops, sorry. Let me. Many of the companies are, you know, producing their key financial reports solely from their information system. You might have heard of the names SAP, Salesforce, etc. And there are some self-developed systems. So of course, the accounting folks, the number crunchers, don't really have a way to with technology, so they can't be sure if the numbers spit out from those systems are reliable, if they can look at the reports and get trust the result they're seeing. So they engage us as IT specialists to assist with the audit, to specifically look at their IT part. Um, Generally, there are two parts. One we call ITGCs, information technology, general controls. That is basically the same thing as I was talking about with the risk assurance, is to look at their IT environment, if they're secure enough, if they do backups regularly, and if they can, prevent people from stealing their information, basically. Um, and then the second part is what's called application testing. So that is looking at their systems from which they generate their key financial reports, and um, we basically go in and look at their inputs, output, their processing integrity, their algorithms, and make sure, the whole data data flow or information flows is reliable. You can trust the output coming from the systems. So that essentially sums up what I do for a living. Um, Hopefully that makes sense to you. I know it's a lot of information within a very small time frame, but the reason I'm going so fast over this is because that is not the point that is not a topic I want to make. My topic is about choosing IT audit as a career path. What is it like to do this as a living? Um, and I trust, well, I think all of you are in IT major, whether you're undergrads or grads, and you go into all those program courses and feeling miserable. Some of you, I definitely had that experience when I was working inside a sandbox, and there's a lot of people coming to get assistance with their programming assignments, and they were having troubles. They were having miserable times programming. They were like, "Oh, I'm thinking about dropping my major, maybe transferring to accounting, financial, whatever." But IT is not only about programming. So there are a lot of different things out there for you to do graduating as a IT major. Um, I mean, I could consider myself a very good coder. When I was at school, I practice a lot. I go into different websites doing those, small tests. Um, and it was a surprise to me, graduating and going to a consulting firm. But coming to think about it, the decision I made 2 years ago, it wasn't a surprise at all. I mean, I always hated just working in front of the computer, not talking to anyone, and just looking at a screen 24/7. So I wanted to have a little bit of communication involved in my profession. Um, and I'm not just talking about like you know over the desk chatting or whatever. I want to talk to people, managements, clients. So this IT audit, I never had an idea what it is. I was talking to the manager who recruited me to the company that I'm working right now, Marcum. And he basically tricked me into taking this job. We He just caught me off guard during the career fair. We chatted and we went along really well. And he sees it that I have a really good communication skill and I connect with people really well. And he was like, "Yeah, I think I have a solid background. Come interview with us." And I was like, "Okay." Not I try to talk to people and I never had a very good idea what it does. But all I know was that I get to talk to people a lot and I get to travel around. So that's great. So I took it. And 2 years after, I never regretted my decision. It was a good job, and it was a great career path. The life as an IT audit or IT consultant is that you get to travel. For some of the companies, you travel at a minimum 40% of the time. For some of the company I know, before they push it up to 70, 80%. So that, which means you are basically every month you're away from your home, 3 weeks at least. Sometimes you get to, catch a flight on Sunday night and come back at during Saturday. If that is a problem with you, then you probably have to consider this option. Otherwise, but if you like traveling like me, get to stay at different places, not always like fancy place like Orlando or whatever. It could be in the middle of the country, nowhere, Tennessee, um, not a single soul within a 10-mile radius. Um, that could happen. And also you get to travel internationally. So that is the part I like about this job, is get to travel, see different places that are not, typical holiday destination. Um, Also, when I go to those places, I get to talk to people of the, um, you know, that lives there. I went to Hong Kong. I went to, oh, there was a really good opportunity that I get to go to German, but it was canceled due to the COVID-19, which is tragic. Um, and at least 30 dozen cities within the United States, and that is great. That's definitely for me. And the other thing is, a lot of you might be thinking, well, consulting firm, it's going to be very demanding in terms of hours, because you probably all heard of Big Four during busy season. That's like 80 hours per week. For those of you who don't have a single idea what 80 hours per week means, typical week is 40-hour, right? 80 hours means you have to work every night till 12 o'clock and on the weekend. That's basically what 80-hour week mean. Um, that is true on some cases. You are There are definitely occasions where you are required to do insanely extended hours. It's just the nature of the business, because every company start filing for their 10Ks at the end of years. Well, I shouldn't say every, but at least 90% of the companies are choosing 12/31 as their year end. So which means um, around, starting December all the way through April next year is typically the busy season for all accounting firms, IT audit included. For me, I'm right now in the middle of a busy season. I pulled an all-nighter last night, worked till 5 just so I can come out and be in a car talking with you guys today. I just so you know, I have a doctor's appointment for my dog, and then I have to come out every Wednesday to get my dog tested and some sort of treatment. Um, so yeah, it can be very demanding, but also it gets slow during middle of the year, usually around June, July, August, and that is time you want to do some trainings, maybe get a certification. There are tons of certification that's recognized by the industry out there. CISA, what was it called? Computer Information System Auditor, CISA, CSAM, Computer Information System Manager. There are just tons of certification out there, so you can keep yourself busy if you want to. But 80 hours doesn't happen a lot. Maybe in the last year or the year before, I had 3 80 hours a week. at most. But most of them were just, oh, what the heck? Sorry. I think my computer just locked itself. I'm back. So yeah, most of the time is normal, quiet, 40 hours week. Sometimes you have to respond to emails during the weekend, but it just work. Um, so yeah, basically that's my life now. So if you think this is interesting to you and you hate programming for some reason, um, then maybe consider this as a career path that you might be potentially taking. And oh, did I mention it's very rewarding financially? Um, I think that's all I wanted to talk for now. Do you have any questions for me?
So let's take some questions from you have which courses that you took at Bentley do you think, or what parts of your Bentley experience do you think helped you get where you are?
Oh, absolutely. That's a very good question. I have an answer for that question. Um, geez, I can't remember the course number. I believe it was. Geez, I have to. Let me just do this real quick.
This is live.
Yeah. No, I was. Okay, sorry. Yeah. I have a question. I have an answer for that question. Which course helps me the most at my career now? Um, I did a graduate study in Bentley, so I can only speak for the graduate student. But there's a course, I think it was called IT 201, IT 211, with Professor Bill. Um,
Scanner?
Enterprise, yeah,
CS
uh,
610.
610.
I
Oh,
think it
yeah,
was 610.
610. Sorry, correct, 610. Enterprise IT. That is the most rewarding course I got out of my graduate study. In that course, you get to talk to your professor, but pretend that he is your client. You get to read material, 100 pages long material within 1 week and just started blabbing about it. You maybe half the time you don't have an idea what you're talking about, but you're compelled to answer all the questions that he proposed. And that is very challenging. Like a lot of people can make it, but if you stick to it, that's gonna give you the skill all consulting career will require. That is to answer questions, taking on questions when you're not prepared. Thank you. That was a great question. I would have said even if you didn't ask.
Thanks. Who else has a question to ask or comment?
Anything else?
I
No.
can't think of like a specific question, but I do want to like thank you for coming in because I got in the beginning of the fall I got like an IT assurance internship with Wolf and Co. and I just like took it because I was like cool job, but I didn't know like what exactly it did. So like this what I was exactly supposed to do, and I talked to other people that like worked in it that that I knew, and they kind of just didn't say anything that made sense to me. But this was extremely helpful, so thank you.
No, that I had the same experience, exact same experience. I was talking to people in this profession, and I was like, "What do you do for a living? Like, what's your daily activity?" And nothing they have ever said makes sense to me. And I was like, "What?" Like, if you're a coder, you write codes into the computer. If you're accountant, you put numbers together that would make sense to business. Like, it's everything can be explained. Why did I get no information on this career whatsoever before I get started? And now it makes total sense. It's really hard to explain what you're doing when you're not in this profession.
Yeah.
All I can try to tell you is my daily activity composition. So basically 40% of the time I'm talking to a client on a conference call. I'm asking them, how do you do this? How do you do that? Then I put them on a note. 20% of the time I'm exchanging email with the client, answering questions, asking questions. And then another 40% of the times I'm documenting everything that I've learned from a client onto a work paper in a format that I think is totally unnecessary. But yeah, and I'm sorry about that. It's the worst time to be a IT audit now that the COVID is striking. You don't get to travel at all. That's like the only benefit to this job, and you just suddenly lose it. So it's not a good time to start a career like this, unfortunately.
Yeah, I'll see how it goes. Thanks though.
Sorry, that was
Yeah, it's
very
fine.
encouraging.
I mean, no matter what, like, I know that was a big aspect too, and that's what they were saying, like, oh, we don't know if we'll be virtual or in person or not. And the last thing I heard was
Yeah,
like, oh,
everything's
you might be
virtual
able to
now.
come in some days, but like they said like it depends on clients, like if they want you to go to them or not, like how much virtual.
And sometimes you just wish you can buy every one of your clients a set of a good microphone like this. It's unreal.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I just had a question. Thanks for coming to speak with us. When you travel to these places, when I think of auditing, I feel like people aren't as receptive. Do you feel like people are like helpful to you when you get there with information you need, or is it? I'm just wondering about that type of interaction.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think your question was that are they hostile?
Yeah,
Like you're literally questioning
yeah,
them
I
for
was
their
wondering about that.
integrity.
Yeah.
that is a very very legitimate question. I had the same concern, like because you're basically interrogating people. That's what I thought the job was when I first started. And I was really worried that people might be hiding information from me, maybe lying to me. And that turns out not the case at all. Never. People are always helpful because they know they can't hide anything from you. It's very easily spottable. So instead of hiding anything, they would just work with you. And worst case scenarios, you find an exception, you find multiple exceptions, and you would just give them some what we call qualified opinions on the reports, which is not gonna destroy the company. It's just a report, and they're auditing when they look at the report and they were like, yeah, what the hell, why did you get a qualified opinion on this? And they would just explain what they do. And of course, that would include our comments, our explanation for why they received those qualified opinions. And sometimes we can say things like they were doing sufficient control, they were performing sufficient activity to prevent such risk from happening. It was just not documented in a way that we can present in a report. There are a lot of ways that we can do around a report. And clients know that. So instead of hiding anything, it would really benefit them to cooperate with us and try to provide the best information available. And we together collectively come up with this report that's presentable for them and presentable for us. So no, really, people are really nice.
Cool. Very good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much. Stick around if you can. Let's take a minute and welcome Carmen back. I'm just going to stop this.